Welcome to the movie Addicts. Almost said Addicts again. I'm not your host. I'm the guest, and here's your host, Owen and Ilya.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can run your show now.
Yeah. Welcome to the Movie Addicts. This is episode 4. Joining me is my co-host, Ilya.
Yeah.
And we've got our special guest today, James Glac.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, James?
James is very near and dear to us here at the podcast. He's the one who made our amazing art for our podcast.
It's amazing. It's honestly a masterpiece. All right, so what are we talking about today?
Well, James recommended a movie for us to watch today. That movie was Welcome to Marwen.
Welcome to Marwen, yeah. I watched this movie like a week and a half ago, and I for some reason can't remember as much as I thought I did, but it's still a great movie. For those who didn't watch it, you should, and for those who have, good for you. And you're also going to understand this podcast a lot better.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk a bit without spoilers, or do you want to go right into spoilers?
Well, I'll read what Wikipedia says about it, and then...
Alrighty.
Yeah, but Wikipedia contains spoilers.
You're gonna get into spoilers. So what Wikipedia says is artist Mark Hogenkamp is attacked by white supremacists and loses most of his memory to cope with his trauma. He creates the fictional village of Marwen through miniature models and imagination. So that's literally the broadest example of what you got in this film.
And most importantly, it's based on a true story.
Yeah, a documentary made in 2010 called Marwen Cole.
Yes.
That Marwen Cole is the name after Marwen, so that's a whole story, and we will dive into that later on.
Yes.
But I'm just saying right now, if you want to watch the movie, you need to watch it first, because I'm saying we're just gonna jump right into spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say we do.
So, fair spoiler alert.
Okay, let's just jump right into the film then.
Okay,
All right.
Everyone, what did you think of it?
What did I think about it?
Yes.
Well, okay, so I don't really watch Steve Carell a lot, but this is why this movie made me think of why he actually is my second favorite actor. So of course we know him both in The Office. We watch him tons of times. But yeah, this Steve Carell does a great job in this film.
Yeah, Ilya, what did you think?
James, you're gonna hate me for this, but I was super bored watching this movie.
You were bored?
I actually despise this movie.
Why? It was
boring.
What do you mean boring?
Oh wow, look at this guy. He has a mental disability because he got attacked by white supremacists. Like, nothing against this guy or anything, but this isn't like this shouldn't be a movie. It should be like a documentary on BBC.
It was a documentary.
Yeah, it's based off of
why did they make a movie?
So I'm sort of
I completely disagree.
I'm sort of in like a middle ground between you two. I thought parts of the movie were amazing, and I thought other parts were kind of bad, like really bad. I know Ilya already saw my Letterboxd review, but I described it as a very hit or miss movie. Like, when it really hits, and it's great, but when it misses, it really misses.
There were a few times when I thought there was a little awkward or could be cliche, but I don't know. It didn't really I didn't hate it. Like, I loved watching this movie. The critics say, so Rotten Tomatoes gave it 35%, which is horrible. But Rotten Tomatoes is like a terrible example.
Yeah, don't trust Rotten Tomatoes.
I looked at IMDb, said it was a 6.1 out of 10.
Which is...
a 6 out of 10 is still a positive rating. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Metacritic gave it 40%. And then the reason why I actually did go and watch this movie, though, was 78% liked this film. If that's the only really trusty thing about this, if the people actually say they like it, then it's probably a fine movie. Critics aren't exactly great about it, even though now we are posing as critics.
A critic's job is to criticize a movie. They have to find the goods and bads in every movie. So.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this is a great movie for comparing the goods and the bads, because there's a lot of stuff to compare.
Okay, well, I really like Steve Carell in this movie. you see him as more of a comedy person, but
Mm,
in this film, it's always fun to watch someone that's played a comedic role and then comes into someone that now is very serious.
yeah.
And it was well done. There was not a part when I thought as him as trying to be funny. He was playing a serious character well.
I feel like so there's it's sort of the movie jumps between two chunks. There is the scenes with the dolls, and then there's the scenes with Steve Carell, like in the real world.
Yeah.
And I feel like both of them have very different tones. Like I feel like with the dolls, it's more comedy oriented, but then whenever it goes to Steve Carell, it's very serious. Because I mean, the story
Well,
with him, it's a really sad story. Like
it's exactly like that. The dolls are telling his trauma,
yeah,
and they're telling it in a lighthearted way with these fun colors and this kind of goofy plastic looks. But when you get into that real reason behind it, why he's playing with these dolls, why is he creating these moments in this tiny world of his imagination? That's where the more serious part and the deeper it gets.
yeah. What do you have anything to say about that, Elia?
I mean,
Keeping quiet.
Yeah.
I um
You can
basically,
jump
like
on the conversation
Steve
anytime.
Steve Carell is a good actor and all, but after watching like episodes of The Office, it's kind of hard to watch him not be in a comedy role. He
Owen
just
mentioned
has
that
that.
as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch him like that because you're expecting him to just like snap out and go, "Oh, look at this funny joke." But like, I don't.
It's very
Like, I
formatted.
think he
Yep.
did a good job. Like the acting wasn't that bad. Like Steve Carell did an okay job in my opinion. It's just the story I didn't like. Like like the whole thing switching between the dolls and Steve Carell. Like that's fine and all. It's like it's okay, but I just didn't overall just like found it really boring.
Well, I find that you guys need to watch more Steve Carell movies. I think you were taken out of it because you guys didn't watch enough of his serious movies and really get to know him as an
Okay, no,
actor
I
instead of
have
his
seen
character.
serious Steve Carell movies before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've
But
seen
you just found that
what
like you were being pulled out of it because of his character he played on The Office.
No, I watched The Big Short. I liked that movie. I watched what was another one? I forget. Well, whatever.
The only Steve Carell movies
But like
I've seen are this and the Despicable Me movies. And that's it.
Oh yes.
oh,
And those are both comedies. So
Yes.
I kind of
well,
get where you're coming from, where you could be pulled out from that. But I think he did a good job enough that I wasn't pulled out from the movie.
I wasn't saying he was doing a bad job. I just
Oh,
find it hard
yeah,
to
little
watch him
little
in a non-serious
little
role.
twist. All right. I see how it is.
I
Fine.
think that is a
Well,
problem, though, because I know with a lot of comedians, whenever they go to try to play a serious role, a lot of the time it's hard to take them serious because you're just seeing them as the
Oh, yeah.
comedian. And this
Like,
movie
it's like
doesn't suffer from
it's
it
like
a whole
Jim
lot.
Carrey playing serious.
Yeah, it's like Jim Carrey, because I know a lot of people
Yeah.
will see it's Jim Carrey and they'll be like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch that. But I mean, there's some serious movies where he's absolutely great in.
The Truman Show. That was a good movie.
Yeah, The Truman Show's amazing.
I love that movie.
Also,
That's also why I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that trend is though. Sorry to interrupt you, but Jim Carrey and Steve Carell are both my first and second favorite actors, and I'm not sure what that is about. But anyway, go on.
the same thing is sort of with Adam Sandler, because he's in a lot of bad comedy movies. But then you look at him in a serious role. Like I know Ilya and I both watched Uncut Gems, and that movie's amazing. And it's with Adam Sandler in this super
especially the
serious role.
ending.
Yeah, Uncut Gems, go watch it. It's on Netflix. But I feel like he falls into the same sort of thing.
Great.
Well, besides Steve Carell,
Yes.
besides Steve Carell, okay. I think the dolls were that was not kind of it was not what Ilya is saying and bad with the story. I think the dolls were there to guide the story along. Bring that.
I didn't say it was bad. I said it was okay. Like, switching between dolls and Steve Carell. I just didn't like the story. It's my opinion. I didn't say, "Oh no, this is bad. Everybody should hate it. If you don't, then you're wrong." No, I'm just saying in my personal opinion, I didn't like the story. I found it boring. It doesn't mean I hate it.
It is a
just-
real
I-
person's story, though.
Actually, this is
I under.
there's a point I really want to bring up about the real story. So, I watched Welcome to Marwen last night, and then right after I finished, I watched the documentary Marwen Call, right directly after, and they both tell. Did either of you watch the documentary?
No, but I was kind of
No.
interested in it.
Oh, because I feel like the documentary tells the story 1,000 times better than the movie does. Like it's the same story, like you can see the movie literally just is a fictional retelling of the story told in the documentary. Because the story in the documentary is the same. It's showing him through the town talking about how he had a crush on his neighbor and she was in the city but she was married so she couldn't be with him, and how there was an art exhibit and he was going to go show his stuff at the art exhibit. Like it's the exact same story, but I just feel like my main problem with the movie was the clashing of tones. Like with the dolls, it was really funny, and that was the part I enjoyed the most. But with Steve Carell, there was a lot of serious stuff, and I just felt like those two tones just never meshed well together.
I watched a little bit behind the scenes with the documentary,
Yeah,
and it seemed, yeah, it does go into more detail than the movie, but that kind of makes sense.
yeah,
Also, the guy recorded it for like, I think he watched him for over like 3 years
yeah. It was a long
of,
period of time
and
he
then,
recorded him over.
and it was just taking all this information to create this big
Yeah,
documentary. But anyway, we're not talking about the documentary.
no,
We're
no, we're
talking
not.
about the story of the documentary, the same story with this guy, and his little town.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think I will get into the CGI then, because that,
Oh yeah,
again, this was one of the movies that I was looking at, and I was like, how? Because this is 2018,
yeah.
and I've seen Star Wars trying to do putting the face on other people, and it doesn't look right. But this movie did it really well, and they did it constantly throughout the film, and I was like, how did they do that so well? So I looked up behind the scenes, and it's all of them, and they're just replaying the scenes as their dolls,
Yeah.
and they're just and then so they're just taking the faces of the actual actors and then plopping it on the dolls, and I'm like, and I think they actually CGI'd every single thing you're seeing except for their face, and even their face are getting plastic sized,
Yeah.
and I'm like, how the hell they do it so well nowadays? Like we're getting to that very point in CGI in which it's coming to be
Yeah.
seamless.
It's
The
it's
I'm
not
like,
that it's
Yeah, go on, Ilya.
it's just Disney just doesn't know how to do CGI.
What I
It's
was gonna
simple as
say
that.
though is the director. I forget his name, but he's made a lot of influential movies when it comes to special effects. Like you guys both know Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Yeah.
don't
Robert
Right, right, yeah.
Zemeckis?
Zemeckis. Yeah, he did that. He did the Back to the
Same
Future
thing.
movies. He made
Oh, I
something
love
else.
Back to-
Forrest Gump. Did he do Forrest Gump? I think so.
I'm looking right now. I'm checking. Yeah, he did Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
He did Polar Express.
yeah. So yeah, he's done a lot of movies
He
like
did-
sort of pushing boundaries of special effects. And I mean, I think this kind of shows in this movie too, because I mean, I thought the animation for the dolls was pretty great. Like the cartoonish nature of them. My favorite part was the way that when they got shot and died, they'd go like stiff in some sort of wacky position and just fall to the ground.
Yeah, that exactly came from
Yeah.
where you're saying the comedy was
Yeah.
within the dolls.
Yeah.
And then you're being brought out from that whole story. And
Yeah.
so for those who are kind of iffy on the whole idea of the film, it's about his trauma and all that around him. Being like his dolls are all people in his life. And that's actually, I thought, was a really interesting concept. And it's not something the movie did. It's something that is actually happening in
Yeah.
this guy's life. And so all the people he meet can become people in Marwen. And so it's just so cool to see, that kind of concept. Now all those people are protecting him in life and also his miniature self in this world.
Yeah, there's a lot to dig into, and I mean, we're not talking about the documentary, so I'm gonna try to stop mentioning that. But the psychology of him and what the Marwen means to him, it's just done I feel like why it was done so good in the movie, the documentary, is because that's the real story. But in the movie, there's just so much to adapt that they weren't able to get everything in.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's because I mean my least favorite part was the story, not like the overarching story. And I felt like it got bogged down because there was so much it was trying to include, and it didn't really need everything. Like there was the fact that he had to go to the trial for the five guys that beat him up, right? And like I feel like it wasn't really necessary because both him going to the trial and him going to his art exhibit were both like obstacles he had to overcome his trauma in order to go do this thing. So they both served the same narrative purpose, but one, the art exhibit, made sense and the other just didn't need to be there. Like the trial, it didn't really need to be there. Like you take out the trial scenes and not much of the movie would change, you know?
Well, I think it's just like you have if they had to pick a conflict, if you're
Yeah.
kind of saying like you have to have one or the other, you can't really have both. I don't know. I just find the two conflicts were I don't think it was that bad. Maybe
Yeah.
yeah, picking a conflict, but I liked both,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's
Like
reasonable.
him confronting his enemies was was great. That was the best way to push his character out. You know, you really see what he's dealing with. He can't even confront the people that beat him up. And also, I also enjoyed like it took me a while, but you start to uncover, his past, what actually happened to him, and that brings up a question because I'm not so for the whole beginning of the film, I was a little
Yeah.
confused because he was bringing his world was taking place during World War II in Belgium.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't really get why though, because like it didn't. I was like, did he be in the war? What
Okay,
time was this taking
so
place?
you know how there was the witch, Deja, right?
Yes,
She sent what's Hoagie? That's his doll's name, right? She sent
that's his.
Hoagie
Yeah.
back in time to World War II. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's what he said in the documentary. That's what happened. So I'm imagining that's the same thing in the movie, but they just didn't explain that. But that's why it's set in that time, because Deja sent him back.
Yeah. Also, he used like GI Joe figures.
Yeah,
That's something from the documentary. He used GI Joe figures to get along with this. So
yeah,
yeah, I guess that kind of is the war, war theme.
yeah.
Um, Also, didn't really like were the attackers. They were what it mentioned, supremists, but like where they were Nazis.
I guess that was what
'Cause
felt so weird. The fact that they were Nazis.
because like what time was it supposed to be taking place? He had a vintage camera. He looked like it could have been the 80s, but didn't distinctly show that. And
That's a
plus,
good
there was
question.
modern things like
Because I
there
don't
weren't vintage cars. And
because they didn't. Did they have cell phones? I don't think they did.
they don't think they had cell phones, but it just seemed very. It didn't seem very vintage to me.
Yeah,
They didn't.
I
It didn't
don't.
distinctly tell the timeline,
Yeah,
so it's hard to tell. Like, what were they getting at?
I feel like
Like,
it
yeah,
might be early 2000s because I mean that's the timeline that the actual events happen. So that would probably be when it takes place.
but that doesn't make any sense of why they were Nazis.
Yeah, I still
Because
don't understand that. And I mean, you can take out the fact that they were Nazis and it wouldn't change anything. I just feel like they're trying to connect the conflict in the real world to the conflict in the doll world.
I guess that's true. It would like if this was a movie and it wasn't based off a documentary or following anything. I think the World War II thing would have been probably not been added. It would have been something different. Like because the idea around that dealing with your trauma in living in another world of your imagination is good, but World War II that other part to it was kind of weird.
I'm pretty sure he was like a Navy vet.
Was he?
Sorry, not a Navy vet, a Marine, because he was in a sailor's outfit with his quote unquote wife in the scene where he's looking through his like scrapbook or whatever of pictures of him.
Oh.
It is, yeah. They
Yeah.
didn't really explain. Did they explain anything in the documentary if he was
Okay,
actually?
well, yeah. So the
I did not
documentary,
watch the documentary.
the real story is that his life was sort of spiraling downhill before he got beat up. Like he was an alcoholic. That's all he would do, would drink, and then the night at the bar, he got beat up by these 5 guys because he was talking about how he would cross-dress, and he got all of his memories wiped, so he didn't remember anything. And yeah, so he wasn't part of the Navy or Army or anything. That's just how he decided to cope was with the town.
Well, yeah.
I've got one more positive thing I'd like to say about the movie, because I've been saying a lot of positive things. And that was, it's this one very specific comedic thing that would happen. Actually, there's 2. Whenever there would be a Nazi in the town and they would kill them, it was hilarious how over the top they'd go. Like, they would just start shooting it, and they wouldn't stop. They would just keep going. And I thought that was so funny. Like, he brought the milkmaid home, and there was the Nazi in the tower with the sniper, and the women just start shooting him, and just keep going. I loved that.
And they're practically
like a
destroying the
Hollywood
church.
movie whenever they did one of those things, because the Nazi would go like, and then do like a boogie down or something, and then fall.
Did you not like the comedy, Ilya?
I was too bored. I mean, the comedy was fine. There's like little bits of it that were like, oh, haha. All right, now I'm still bored.
I don't know why you found it so boring. You weren't thinking about it deep. You weren't looking into it deep enough.
I mean,
okay.
I wasn't looking into it deeply. Yes, I see. His character is a minifigure. Yes, that is very deep. That symbolizes him. No, like, it's just not something that should be a movie in a way. Like, oh yeah, there's plenty of like mental patients that like maybe they didn't make that like whole thing with the, oh yeah, here's a World War II setting thing or whatever, had like an exhibit or not. Like, that's like, that's a little bit unique. But there's like many other like mental patients in the world that have their own unique things. So it's not, I don't think it's anything special. Like, yeah, it's like, it would be a good documentary. Like, I respect that they made a documentary about that, but I don't respect that they made a movie out of a documentary out of him.
So you find his story wasn't unique enough?
It wasn't unique, no.
You don't. Yeah, you think everyone that's recovering. So okay, so he cross-dressed. He wore women's shoes, and then got beat up for it. Lost all his memory, and then started to rebuild that
should
trauma
be a documentary.
to a little town with GI Joe dolls, and that's not unique.
It shouldn't be a multi-million-dollar movie. It's a documentary.
I can agree with things both of you are saying. Like, the documentary is better than the movie, but the director, Robert Zemeckis, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
What he's been doing for his last few movies, he's taken documentaries and he's adapted them into movies. Like, I think his last 3 movies, that's what he's done. The only one I've seen is the Walk, about the guy who walked between the Twin Towers on a tightrope. But what he likes doing is taking documentaries and turning them into a movie.
Well, I don't think he failed with this one.
I think he did a great job at showing the story to a wider audience, because it's an amazing story, the true story of this guy and how he copes. Again, I just feel like with Ilya, the fictionalizing it like this just doesn't hit as much as the actual documentary.
Yeah, like, like the actual story of himself, oh yeah, he got like beat up by like some white supremacists. Like, that's or like he lost all his memories or whatever. I don't know what the actual story was. I haven't watched the documentary, but that's I like that story. Like, that true story is very inspiring. But to like turn it into a movie, like a documentary, again, my point, like my belief that it should be a documentary, which it is, but I don't think it should be a movie.
So you just don't think that if you were to put it into a movie form, it didn't seem real enough.
It's
like unlike in a documentary, you know it's going to be real. It's something that's an event that's happened. But when you put it into a movie, it's more fictional. It's not as easy to believe it was a true story. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
I don't care if it's a true story or not. I just don't think it should be a movie.
Okay, so
Okay,
just square off
all right.
thoughts. This shouldn't be a movie.
Here,
All right.
here. Bridge of Spies by Tom Hanks. That again, that one is like it was a true event that happened in the Cold War between the USSR and the Americans. You know, again, great movie. It also would have been a great documentary, a long documentary, but it would have been great, a great documentary. But it's also a very good story that can end up being a movie. This, however, it should be a documentary because of how inspiring this is, but I don't think it should be a movie because it's not.
I think you would like
If
it
you,
more. Like, Ilya, you would definitely like the documentary more because the order that things happen in the movie are not the same way that they happen in the documentary. Like,
yeah,
I think they fictionalized the movie too much. Like, if they had stuck more to the actual order of events, because they got the events all right, the order was just off.
mm-hmm.
The narrative structure, I think, would have been better. And also, I think that it either should have been a comedy or been a serious movie because my biggest problem was that those two just didn't mix at all.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the podcast here and say thank you for coming this far. This podcast is sponsored by grilled cheese. It's cheesy.
No,
it's grilled
it's
cheese.
not. James, we have 8 subscribers. We have 8 subscribers. Do
Now
you
on the
think
podcast.
Grilled Cheese is gonna come and sponsor us? On our first video, we have 54 views. Are you kidding me?
This
just
video is
thought I
brought
would-
to you
just
by
thought I'd
real
mix it.
Canadian dairy farmers.
I just thought I would add a little bit more.
Yeah.
This video has been
Like to
sponsored
thank
by
the viewers
Raid
for coming
Shadow
this far.
Legends. It is a free to download game. Go download it right now. It's on the App Store for free.
Not a sponsor. Grilled
Oh.
cheeses though. All right. All right. Well, let's get into what did you guys think about the romance? All right, with Nicole.
That was so creepy. I can't even see anything good about that. That was so creepy. It made me so uncomfortable when I was watching it.
I was really confused.
I think it made me uncomfortable because it was like I don't want them to be together. It's one of those
Yeah.
times when I'm like, he's kind of old and weird looking.
Yeah.
They don't go together.
Yeah.
But I still, yeah, it's just kind of like I wish this guy, he wouldn't like, please don't do this. I want you guys to be friends. You know, you can't just get the signs because you're gonna screw yourself over. And I want you as the protagonist to do well.
Yeah.
I wanted him and the Russian lady to be together.
Like, again, it's so creepy the way he, like, stalks her, like, right from the beginning. He's watching her move in, and he knows all this stuff about her, and then he buys a doll and makes his alter ego, like, fall in love with her, and...
Yeah, that was a little weird. It's a little hard to follow that. Like, oh yeah, you're doing great, when gets a little weird.
But, I mean... There was one scene, like, the romance wasn't all bad. I hated all of it, except for the one scene when he proposed to her. I felt that scene
that
was
was
so...
kinda nice.
That scene was great, because it was at that point you saw him not being able to distinguish between the two worlds, and it's when you realize just how messed up he really is. Because he's fallen so into this fake world that he thinks it's the real world. And just her reaction to, like, this, realizing what this poor guy is in. It's...
Yeah, this kind of content sounds a lot better. We should totally put this at the beginning of the podcast. Anyway.
No, we're not. Why did he what's it called? Whatever. Okay. Why did he All right, fuck it, whatever. Continue on.
That scene, I felt like if the whole movie had been about that, like him getting lost in this world, it would have been so good. Just delving into his psychology. And that made me feel so bad that there was all this comedy. Because just the fact that there was comedy, like, right before and right after just took away the impact of the scene.
Also, there's a lot going on. You know, that kind of brings
There's
it back
so
to
much.
when you said there's a lot of conflict. And so, you know, it's really hard with this movie because the topic can get boring, but with all this stuff going on, it makes it interesting.
Mhm.
But when all this stuff going on, it makes it kind of hard to follow one thing. And yeah, that does raise conflict with the film, and I just think it's the idea in general. I don't say it shouldn't be a movie, but it does do better as a documentary.
Oh, what did you guys think of the ex-boyfriend of the neighbor who moved in across the street?
That was a little weird and very forced.
Ilya?
I mean, it kind of added a little bit more. Like, oh, we have a new character. Oh, what is he? Oh, he's a dick. Oh,
Yeah, I love how he literally said, he's a dick. That made me laugh so much.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna come up to this guy because I see I see a thing where World War II setting, and I see Nazi card. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go up to him and speak German and salute Hitler. Oh, such a good idea.
He felt way too cartoony.
Yeah,
He
was a little weird.
He was overly evil.
He's fake. He's part of the doll world. It's all imagination.
Well, there actually was a doll of him, and and then I like that scene when he walked in. Yeah. There was that toy there. That whole it was a little the film part of it was kind of weird. It felt a little cliche. It didn't seem very serious. They were taking that because you can notice with the shots and the way they were looking at the news and stuff. It just seemed a little cliche, but the idea was very good.
Yeah.
Him going to the hobby shop, he bringing his Jeep around with all his characters was nice. And also that is something that the man did in real life.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, there is this great scene in the documentary where he's walking down the street and he's talking about how ever since the attack he hasn't been able to walk straight, so he always walks on the side of the road and watches the white line and makes sure he follows the white line. I should stop talking about the documentary. Just go watch the documentary.
Just go watch the documentary. Yeah. What are you doing?
Stop the podcast. Go listen to the documentary.
And on our next episode of Movie Addicts, we are going to be watching this movie's documentary.
Yep. There we go.
What was I going to say? The hobby shop woman. She was another character.
She was another character, you're right.
Why are we referring to all these people? Oh yeah, she's another character.
I felt like not enough of the characters had enough development. I can't refer to them as anything but they are a person in the movie.
The only person that had development was Nicole.
Yeah, but I don't even know if Nicole had development. Her character was just nice neighbor. The only person that had any depth was Steve Carell.
True.
I mean, it was supposed to be following him.
Yeah.
In a way.
But I mean, okay, I guess if you look at it from the way of Steve Carell's mind, because I mean, he kind of sees everyone as one-note characters. You look at the way he personifies everyone in the what's the name of Marwich? No, it's not Marwich. Marwen.
Marwen.
And they're all very one-dimensional, cartoony characters. So I guess it makes sense if you're looking at it through the way he sees the world.
Yeah.
Marwen Co.
I felt kind of bad for her though. The scene where she's just trying to make plans for dinner, and he's just completely rejecting her.
Yeah. At that time, though, I actually kind of thought that she was trying to hit on him, but.
I mean, I still thought that was kind of funny. Although, again, the setup was so obvious there. When they were oh, we've never had sushi. Wow. I automatically, I was okay, by the end of the movie, they're going to go get sushi together. It was a very obvious setup and delivery.
The biggest problem for me of that movie was he never said, oh yeah, they never showed a thing where they were eating sushi and we don't know if he likes sushi or not. Now that's been haunting me forever. Does he like sushi or does he not like sushi?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We need a Welcome to Marwen 2 where
right
it's just
now.
Steve Carell eating sushi.
That's right. Does he like sushi? Well, there you go. All right. Well, let's quickly touch on the climax. What did you guys think about the ending and the climax? That whole.
What are we considering the ending? Because there's the whole bit where he goes into the courthouse, and then from then on, or.
Well, the climax being he finally quit his addiction. He was over that. he goes to the art
Um,
gallery.
before that,
Would you think
can I
that was a
touch on
good
the
ending?
courthouse bit? Because I've got stuff
Yeah,
to
you
say
can.
about that. I already don't think it should have been included, but I think the weirdest part was about he was sitting there talking about how these guys attacked him, and it pans over to them, and the one guy was crying, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was in that moment I was like,
That's weird.
oh no, these poor people. Like they did an awful thing, but there was no redemption arc for them. Like again, they just felt like such cartoonishly evil Nazis. That's basically what they were. They were like
Yeah.
in the Village. There was no difference between the Nazi characters in the Village and the Nazi characters in real life. And
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to see, like, you have to have that defining line between what's comedy and what's serious,
yeah.
and you
And I
can't
thought
really mix that
when
together.
it showed the guy crying, I was like, are they going to build off them or something? But no, the scene ended. And it was never mentioned again.
Yeah, like that. If they were actually real criminals, you wouldn't be crying. You would honestly, you think they would think that the speech he's giving is very cliche.
Yeah. A lot
It's
of
like,
I
oh,
feel
wow, you
a
get
lot of the
Steve,
movie's cliche,
Go
I
to
feel like.
court. Steve, go to court. Steve, go to court. No, no, no. Steve, go to court. Yes.
Character development.
Like, come on. character, character development 101.
And you
But-
think it was just a good rap with the art gallery?
Again, I'm going to
Well-
mention the documentary. The ending was so
Okay.
much better. This thing, the ending worked with what was set up, I guess.
Yeah. Also, like, the two conflicts were the court case and they were the art gallery, going to the art gallery. And so, like, you kind of, you both wrapped them up in that ending, but the thing was, which one do you think would have been better to end with?
I'd go with the art gallery all the way. I think that should have just ended with the art gallery. Don't
Yeah.
include the court case.
It would be nice. It's the court case is something that really builds on his character, shows his fear of his enemies.
But I mean, like,
But
you could have developed his character through the art gallery. Like, he's afraid to go because... Okay, I'm going to do it again. But in the documentary, he was scared to go to the art convention because he was worried about seeing all these people and that they're not going to accept him because he likes to wear women's shoes. And they could have done that in the movie. I think that would have been a much better way to develop his character rather than these over sensationalized evil people in the courthouse.
The
Yeah.
dolls had more characters than the actual actors in the movie. I honestly, that you see more of them than the actual actors, and they have more of like a storyline and like characters than actual characters.
yeah, I totally agree.
Do you want to talk about the ending scene with the dolls? Because that was my favorite scene in the movie.
I don't remember what it was.
They
It was like, oh yeah, the witch was a Nazi or whatever, and
Well-
she flies away in a DeLorean.
He's Steve Carell's doll sitting in the church, and the evil Nazi doll comes in, and then Steve Carell's praying, and then the Nazi's like, "Ha, I'm here," and then his head spins around on his doll body, and I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
that's my favorite part of the movie is when
That
his
was
head
the-
spins around.
Yeah,
I
that
could
was
not stop laughing.
yeah. I did not see that part coming. I was like, oh, he's gonna turn around. Nope, he just spins his head around.
And the fact that he stayed it like that during the whole bit of dialogue in between the two of them was so funny.
It reminded me of The Exorcist.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good way to end this.
No.
Well, no, there's
Are
more
you
that
kidding
happened in
me?
the fight. Then Steve Carell stabs him in the neck with his high heel.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was great.
well,
You were mentioning there was the twist where Deja was the Nazi. What'd you think of that?
I don't know. At that point, I was like, oh, something new. Okay. I mean, and then there was a little bit where she flies off in the DeLorean, which is a reference because the director was directed Back to the Future. Yeah.
I thought it was
So,
kind of stupid.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so cartoony, though, the fact that it's stupid kind of fits. so I don't think it takes away from it that much.
Oh, we will travel 15 million light years into the future. Why?
Okay,
No,
can
yeah.
we just talk about the fact that they were saying we'll travel 15 million light years into the future, but a light year is like not a distance of time, it's a distance of like that's like a space, not time.
It's like a meter or kilometer. A light year is like how far
A light year is how far light moves in a year.
Light travels. Yeah, exactly, and it's like some stupid large number. Oh yes, let's move in light years in time.
That just doesn't work. That's like saying, oh yeah, I go 12 gallons per hour in my car. It just doesn't make any sense. Do you two have anything else you want to say about the movie?
Honestly, no.
No. Here, let's give her ratings.
Yes,
All
okay.
right, ratings.
Ilya, what would you give this movie?
Okay, at first, initial reaction, a 1.5 out of 5 stars because of how bored I was.
What?
After this conversation, I'm going to be ever so nicely and move it up to a 2 out of 5.
Wow.
Okay.
So are we doing it out of 5s?
You do whatever you want. We do out of 5 because we use Letterboxd, and Letterboxd is out of 5. So
I will use out of 5 then. Okay, well, I gave it like a 4.3 out of 5.
okay,
4.2, 4.2, 4.1, 4.1.
4.1. So that's like an 82%.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. So it's a solid 50%.
Why you guys bash the movie so much?
Well, no, I give the 50% for the 50% of the movie that I
Our
liked.
personal... James, remember, this is our personal opinion, so it's not that we're bashing Steve Carell, it's because we didn't like the movie.
No, I would still recommend the movie. I think it's definitely a movie that people should watch because it's enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch the movie.
Go watch the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna get my parents to watch it with me, but then I thought, no, I don't think they're gonna like it. They're gonna walk away in like the first half an hour. I think they would have walked out in the first 15 minutes.
I watched it with my dad, and he liked it a lot. So, yeah.
No, but you don't understand. My parents have they're very, very hard on movies.
I see. Also, like somebody else I know. You. All right.
Alrighty, well, I think that's a good note to end on. So,
what movie are you going to be doing next?
Yeah.
yes, Ilya, what movie are we talking about next episode?
Possibly the greatest movie of all time, which I haven't watched it, and I think I'm setting my expectations really high, but Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
It's a spin-off of Star Wars.
Like what's it called? A parody, that's what it's called, right? Spoof. Spoof's the word, yeah.
A parody of a spoof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so next episode, we're talking about
Sounds great.
Spaceballs, so if you want to listen to the full episode without being spoiled, you should watch it.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, because there's lots of episodes coming out soon.
Yep. One last thing before we go. James does a lot of photography, and we're going to put his Instagram to his photography account, because you should check it out. He's got a lot of great stuff down there. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Well done, everybody. Well done. Oh, I gotta stop the recording.